Hello guys. Welcome to our YouTube channel. We are so glad you're here and excited to share our content with you, whether you are a returning subscriber or a new viewer. We appreciate your support and hope you enjoy our videos. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notification so that you never miss a new upload today. I'm going to share with you guys an unexpected and eye-opening event of my life that will surely give you goosebumps. I never expected that. Well, tracing back to the year 2020 when I got married to my friend's cousin named Lara, to be honest, we were very happy with each other at the starting. Like we used to have a lot of romance and fun. Our physical relationship was really satisfied. I remember how she used to seduce me by wearing hot linger. I was just in love with her. Both of us were working as a real estate agent but in different companies. I wanted to give my wife a luxurious life. So I started a part-time job as well. I used to time my rest of the time in doing work. My wife was okay with my routine. In fact, she was really so happy and used to call herself lucky because I used to work all day just because of her. We mainly used to go to cinemas and restaurants in weekends. We were living in a peaceful and delightful life. One day, something really unexpected and surprising happened. I remember it was about 2 a.m. of the night when I was sleeping peacefully. I randomly got my eyes opened and found my wife nowhere in the bed. I obviously did not consider this thing and thought that she might be in the washroom. But when I woke up again at about 4 a.m., my wife was still not in the bed with me. I got anxious and stood up from my place in order to see my wife. I was shocked to realize that my wife was nowhere in the house. I got even more anxious for her and then decided to call the police. I was just about to call the police when I caught sight of my wife. It was coming from the roof. She had no idea that I was watching her. I remember she seemed so tired at that time. She was almost undressed. She was holding a mobile phone and fully immersed in chat. I didn't understand what the matter was. I called her name. As soon as she heard her name called me, she looked behind and was shocked to see me awake. She then began to ask the reason for my sleeplessness. I confessed to her my worries for her. I even asked her what she was doing on the roof. And this dark hour of the night, my wife's reply was just beyond my understanding. She said that it was her best day's birthday named Sarah, who wanted my wife to talk to her in a video call. So my wife was in a video call with her best friend. I didn't say anything to her. But the same night when it was about 5, Amy noticed something really strange. My wife was sleeping peacefully and her phone began to ring. Her phone kept ringing for 10 minutes. But my wife was so immersed in her sleep that she did not pick up her phone. I woke up and thought that it might be an urgent call. So I decided to pick it up. To be honest, I had not ever checked my wife's phone. Maybe that was the reason that she never set up any passwords on her mobile phone. I was just about to pick up the call from my wife's phone when I realized that the phone stopped ringing. I randomly picked my wife's phone when the gallery was already open. What I had seen in the gallery will definitely shock you. I was shocked to see my wife pictures like what I was even more shocked to see. My wife's just now video called screenshot with her friend Sarah, but they were fully read and seemed so high. I was just so shocked, like I had not ever thought my wife could do like this or she was a lesbian. I decided to check out her whole gallery, but I did not find anything else like that in the gallery. The next morning when I woke up, my wife was doing something in her mobile and seemed extremely busy. When I asked her what she was doing, she looked at me with her eyes and said that I should check her gallery. I just shocked to hear that my wife knew that last night I had checked her mobile phone. At the same time, my wife burst into laughter and began to give me an explanation that she is not a lesbian, blah, blah. She further told me that Sarah was the birthday girl who wanted her to have this kind of video call. After listening to my wife's words, I didn't take any on my nerves. I kissed my wife on her forehead and asked her to make breakfast. My wife used to mention Sarah's name multiple times in her conversation. To be honest, I had not any idea about Sarah at that time. Even she did not come to our marriage. She was based in Canada and we were living in New York. According to my wife, she randomly got in contact with Sarah on Facebook. After ages. My wife further told me that Sarah was her best friend in the college time. But due to her parents' divorce, my wife's friend, Sarah, shifted to Canada with her father. My wife told me with a load of disappointment in her face that when Sarah shifted to Canada, she lost every contact with her. To be honest, I was just tired of hearing Sarah's mentions in my wife's conversation. Every time her topic of conversation was only used to be Sarah. My wife even told me that her friend Sarah was making fun of my beard. I got disappointed because my wife was okay with the thing that her friend was making fun of my appearance. One day, I was extremely tired of my work and humiliated my boss as well. When I reached the house, my mood was really not good and was really hungry. My wife was on the phone call with Sarah. When I asked my wife with gestures that I am hungry, she really did not consider she literally did not make anything for me. Instead, she was continuously on the phone call with her friend. I got furious and then stood up in my place in a fit of fury. I went close to my wife and angrily snatched her mobile phone from her. I remember how my wife created a lot of panic and curled with me that I had no right to snatch her mobile phone like this. She became so angry with me that for the first time, she shifted to another room for about 1 week. I tried my best, but she was not agreed to reconcile. One day I made her crystal clear that I am ready to do anything and requested her for forgiveness. My wife's response on my apology will shock you. She said that she was having no problem with me. She further said me that she will come to our bedroom again only in one condition. When I asked her the condition, she said that I must say sorry to her friend Sarah because she to her and I snatched a mobile phone minded this act done by me. I was just wondering, like, obviously, at first, I wasn't ready to apologize to her. But in my wife's great insistence, I sent a voice message of apology from my wife's phone to her friend. Her too much attachment with her friend was disturbing. Me, day by day, our physical relationship became so unsatisfied because my wife used to not to be ready that in bed, it seemed like she was full. Well, at that time, by the grace of God, I got a lot of profits where I had invested. One day, there was no place for my happiness. When I realized that I almost made a profit in cryptocurrency, I bought some roses for my wife and excitedly moved to my house. But when I reached the house, everything seemed so changed. Like, I remember our house was fully decorated and my wife was cooking different foods. When I asked her what happened, she replied that her friend Sarah had arrived from Canada and was just on the way to our house. Kay had not ever seen my wife this excited. I exactly remember it was a warm summer evening when my wife, old friend Sarah, came over to our house for dinner. My wife had been looking forward to this visit for weeks and she had not even seen Sarah in years. I, on the other hand, had some reservations. Sarah had always been something of a bully and I had never gotten along with her, but I didn't want to spoil Laura's excitement. So I put on a smile and welcomed Sarah into our home. At first, everything seemed to be going well. We chatted over a bottle of wine and they caught up on their old times. But as the night wore on, Sarah's true colors began to show. She started making slight comments about me, laughing at my jokes and my accomplishments. At first, I tried to brush it off, but it soon became clear that Sarah was trying to establish herself as the alpha female in the room. Things took a turn for the worse. When Sarah made a joke about my fertility, I had been trying to have a baby with Laura for months. But we had been unsuccessful so far because mainly Sarah used not to be ready for being physical in bed. Sarah's comment hit me like a punch on the gut. I feel humiliated and angry, and I expected Laura to defend me. But instead she joined in with Sarah's laughter, and I felt utterly alone. I got up from the table and entered the bedroom. I could not bear to be in the same room with Sarah any longer. But as I lay in bed, sitting with anger and hurt, I realized that my real problem was with Laura. I could not believe that she would let her friend treat me this way. I felt betrayed and unsupported. And I knew that something had to change. That night, I made a decision. I would leave the house while Laura was sleeping. I didn't want to talk to her or explain myself. I just wanted to be far away from her and Sarah. I packed a bag and left the house, not knowing where I was going or what I was going to do next. I woke up the next morning in a hotel room. I felt lost and alone, but at least I was away from the toxicity of Laura and Sarah's relationship. But as the day wore on, I began to miss Laura. I missed her smile, her laugh, and the way she would hold my hand when she walked together. I knew that I couldn't stay away from her forever. That night, Laura called me. She was crying and her voice was shaken. She begged me to come back home, promising that things would be different. She told me that Sarah had stolen everything in the house by making her drink. Laura was bluing badly and said that she loved me and that she couldn't bear to be without me. I listened to her words for a moment. My feet froze in Sarah's act of rob, and I felt hope at the same time that this incident would change my life. Maybe things could be different. Maybe Laura really did love me. But as I thought about it more, I realized that I wasn't ready to forgive and forget. I told Laura that I needed some time to think things over. I didn't know if I could trust her again, and certainly did not know if I could ever forgive her for what she had said. I was really worried about her as she was alone in the house. I didn't know that I loved Laura and that I didn't want to lose her. So I promised her that I would come back home. But only when I was ready at the end. It took several weeks for me to feel comfortable, began to return home. But when I did, things were different. Laura had taken my concerns seriously, and she had made an effort to distance herself from all her close friends. My wife further told me that Sarah had hacked my bank account as well, because once Laura told her about the password. I had not ever thought that my wife could be so dumb. All my savings in the banks were occupied by Sarah. But I had no evidence to claim everything happened just because of my wife, who was so crazy for her friend that she even shared our private things with Sarah. We went to couples counselings together and we talked about our communication because this incident had really affected our relationship.